Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lula, and today I'm going to be discussing my game against Nick from episode 1 of Chess Masters, the Endgame, which is a new chess show on BBC 2. So if you haven't seen that, maybe go and watch episode 1 before I discuss my game with Nick. Okay? The rest of the video will, of course, contain spoilers for episode 1. You will find out what happens in my game, essentially. Obviously, the show is only 30 minutes long. You cannot include 3 full games of chess plus 2 other challenges in a 30-minute period, so a lot was missed out from the games in the first challenge, and so I would love to talk you through my game and what happened. Now that I've given you a spoiler warning, I'm going to talk to the rest of you as though you have already seen this episode. And if you have, then you will know that I won my game against Nick, meaning that I qualified to episode 2 immediately and I did not have to take part in the other challenges. Nick, however, lost, of course, and he had to take part in the second challenge and then the eliminator challenge, which unfortunately he lost. So Nick left in episode 1. I'm going to talk to you about the game. I had the black pieces. We played the French. If you watch my streams, then you know I play the French. And something a lot of you probably don't know is that I've been trying to stop playing the French for a long time because there are a couple of lines in the French that I don't like playing against. And one of them is the Tarrasch, and this was a Tarrasch. I used to play the open Tarrasch. I'm not going to go too much into opening theory because most of you won't care about why I don't like playing the open Tarrasch or the knight f6 Tarrasch, but my coach and I last summer decided I was going to play the bishop e7 Tarrasch. Problem being that I never ever faced the Tarrasch, literally ever. So I didn't study my Tarrasch lines. I didn't know anything about my Tarrasch lines other than bishop e7 being the first move, because it so rarely comes up. There are so many variations of the French. There's the exchange, there's the advanced, there's the classical, like there's like weird things with f4, like there's so much that white can do. I very rarely see the Tarrasch. So I didn't study, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out of book after bishop e7. e5 is played, which I know isn't normal because this is basically transposition back into an advanced French, but you have a weird knight because your knight doesn't really want to be on d2, especially not so early. And also you didn't get the tempo of the knight coming to f6, so there's no knight f6, knight d7, so black didn't have to waste time, whereas white played e5 without a tempo. So this is weird. I probably should just play c5 here and treat it like a normal advanced French. For whatever reason, I didn't. But here, you know, there's stuff with like with queen to g4, and I wasn't prepared for this. For like bishop f8. This is looking a bit like some winnower stuff that I have seen, but I don't think I would have known what to do here. Anyway, I just played knight to d7, which you could argue doesn't stop queen to g4. But, you know, for some reason the engine doesn't think it's that good anymore. But the engine doesn't think much of knight to d7. My plan with knight to d7 is that, of course, c5 is still possible. You cannot play b4. I will take your pawn, so you cannot stop me from playing c5. And of course, if you take, I can take. And this looks very nice for black. Of course, white will never take. White will always play c3, which is exactly what happens. And basically now my knight should just be on c6, which is the only problem with my position. There's nothing else wrong with the position other than my knight is slightly misplaced. You could argue that white's knight is also slightly misplaced, but white is playing with the white pieces, so they can get away with anything. Knight to h6 now, which might look strange, but is actually quite a normal developing move in the French. And sometimes you do allow bishop captures. Here the bishop can't capture anyway. And I thought probably either knight here or knight here to threaten taking here. This is kind of what I thought was going to happen. But my opponent actually played knight to h3. He's copying me. So I take and take. Basically in the French, as soon as this knight, you know, is developed, you can take here because then it can't come to c3. So whatever, I can take, and then I can put pressure on d4, which is the whole point of the advance, is that black is putting pressure on d4, which is another reason why my knight should be on c6, whatever. And now knight to f3, so defending the pawn. f6 now, I probably should have played f6 here, and I didn't. So I have a slightly worse position now. And now f6, bishop takes, g takes, and you can see, obviously, I have not great pawn structure. And I was a bit concerned about like maybe queen d2, and then like queen takes, and then bishop check, you can't take because the rook hangs, this kind of thing. Like the bishop and queen combo can be very scary in general in the French. So I decided I was going to lock out the bishop, and I played f5, which is just terrible because you can still play queen to d2, and this still is scary, but it is what it is. That's what I played. And anyway, my opponent did not play queen to d2. It's quite a hard move to find, I guess, in a rapid chess game. In classical chess, you're definitely looking at stuff like this, but this is a bit different. So after f5, my opponent played knight to h4. I think this is the first point in our game where the show zoomed in on what was happening. And I think David called this a sacrifice. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, you're not actually giving away a knight for free. Like, if I take, then you just win the piece back. But I can take the pawn. So I did take the pawn. And that's actually the only good move here. Here I was thinking just like knight here is possible because my queen can't really leave. And then probably like maybe even knight f8, knight g6. I'm guarding, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to try and improve my pawn structure again, this kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not super happy. But anyway, knight to h4, and I grab the pawn. Queen h5 check is still possible, and this is something that was looked at in the show. It does look like a scary check because I lose castling rights. My king has to stay in the center of the board. And now something like knight to f3 would be the best move to attack the queen. But even though I can take your bishop, you can attack my queen, you can attack my king, and after I come back, I think you can continue to attack. So white has compensation for the piece. It's definitely hard to play. You have to play very accurately. And black just has to try not to get checkmated, but it is, you know, a full piece. So instead, Nick played knight takes f5, sacrificing a piece for the pawns. So now my thought process is that if I can not get checkmated, I will win the game because I'm up material. So I'll try to trade down, and I will trade down into a winning endgame, hopefully. So I played queen to h4 because I want to trade off the queens. Of course, Nick does not want to trade off the queens because he knows that if he's going to win this game, he's going to win via checkmate. So after queen to f7, I played rook to f8. If they take, then it's not a big deal. I guess I can take here and continue to force trades because now you actually can't avoid trades. And, you know, if white doesn't do anything, like if they play a nothing move, then I can force some trades, I think. This is not the engine's top move, but I think that this is very practical, like trading like this. And then if not, then trading like this. So this is possible. And so queen e6 was played. He did not take my pawn on h7 because he doesn't want to trade stuff. He wants to keep the threats. I kind of panicked here, I think. I did panic a little bit. I played queen a4, which doesn't really do anything, but I thought bringing my queen to the other side of the board would be good so that I could try to, like, I don't know, maybe try to develop this kind of stuff and get my other pieces in, but whatever, whilst guarding d7 still, because of course I'm very underdeveloped even though I'm at material. And rook to d1. Now I do actually have to guard this pawn, so knight to b6. Knight to b6 is really nice here because you're guarding the pawn, but you're also attacking the queen and attacking the bishop. Now if this queen moves, you will simply lose the bishop, so now you have to sacrifice. This is obviously not ideal because you've already sacrificed and you're sacrificing again, so you're going to be down even more material. Knight takes, queen takes. Interesting thing here, the engine seems to like just king to e8, ignoring the sacrifice. I guess because the queen is still stuck and you're gonna be even worse off after like something like this. And your rook is stuck, but whatever. I think just taking the material immediately is fine too, because like I said, we want to get as much off the board as possible. So now e6, starting to put some pressure on d7, I guess, hoping that they can deflect my pieces from guarding it. I mean, I can't play b6 to develop my bishop anyway because the rook would hang. But I do get why you wouldn't play bishop takes h7 here. I mean, it's the best move, but what does it really do? You're grabbing a pawn, but it's not looking great. e6 also guards the f5 bishop and blocks my bishop. So that is a pretty crafty, pretty creative resource from Nick. Queen c6, I'm just simply trying to trade the queens. I think I have a much easier position to play now than he does. Queen d3, and I can win a pawn. He grabs on h7, and now I can develop fully. And my king looks so safe in his little burrow with all of his pieces around him. H5, we're just gaining some tempo, attacking the pieces until we can trade the queens. And now after queen to d4, this is where the show picks up again in our game. And you actually just can't avoid the queen trade here, because if you try to avoid the queen trade, you'll end up losing a piece. You cannot guard the bishop with your queen because my bishops are covering these squares. So you're forced to trade. This is kind of a fork in a way. And now I'm very happy to continue trading. You have damaged pawn structure. I definitely didn't convert this in the best way. My king is not super safe. I definitely shouldn't have gone for this and opened up the F file. I really don't know why I did. Like, why did I not just grab these? What's stopping me from just grabbing these? So yeah, I don't really know why I did that. I guess he was low on the clock, so I wanted to threaten his king, which is a fair strategy. He has 30 seconds, but I did complicate things unnecessarily for myself. So I did allow this fork of the rooks, but I mean, it's not a big deal in the end because these pawns are so bad, I'm going to win them. I know it's only +1 in material here, but like, if you're playing this game, there's no way you get to keep these pawns because the king is vulnerable and the rook is strong. So I will just win the pawns, at which point I will have an extra piece, and then I won the other pawns, forced a trade of rooks, and then I promoted a queen, being very careful not to stalemate, being very careful not to blunder anything. And here I have mate in 5, but I did not play it. Here I have mate in 2 with the bishop. I was like, I'm just going to do a king and queen checkmate, because for me, a king and queen checkmate uses no brain power, and I was so stressed. And I think that if you can revert to your pattern recognition and what you know, and I know how to do a king and queen checkmate in my sleep, I'm not going to be like looking for mate in 2 with the bishop. It's just completely unnecessary. I think this is the point where David said I was playing with my food. I was not trying to unnecessarily prolong the game, but I just wanted to do a safe checkmate. I just didn't want to blunder because I knew I was very close to winning the game. And winning the game was a big deal because it meant that I qualified straight through to the next episode. So I was just very relieved to win this game, honestly. It was very stressful because I had never played chess on TV before. And I think unless you've done that, you don't know how scary it is to do it. So obviously I really enjoyed this game against Nick. So I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry that this came at your expense, but I wasn't the one to knock you out. So no hard feelings, I hope. I hope you enjoyed this recap. I hope you enjoyed actually seeing the game in full. And the next episode will air on Monday, the 17th of March at 8 p.m. GMT on BBC Two and BBC iPlayer. I will be watching. I hope you'll be watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.